show, but the pain still grows. Some stranger to you and me. I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Oh Lord, but I've been waiting for this moment for all my life. Oh Lord. In the air tonight, oh Lord, oh Lord. Well, I've been waiting for this moment for all my life, oh Lord. I can feel it coming in the air. Well, I remember, don't worry. How could I ever forget? It's the first time, the last time we ever met. But I know the reason why you keep your silence up. No, you don't fool me. The hurt doesn't show, but the pain still grows. Some stranger to you and me. I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Oh Lord, but I've been waiting for this moment for all my life. Oh Lord. I can feel it in the air tonight, oh Lord, oh Lord. Well, I've been waiting for this moment for all my life, oh Lord. I can feel it coming in the air. Well, I remember, don't worry. How could I ever forget? It's the first time, the last time we ever met. But I know the reason why you keep your silence up. No, you don't fool me. The hurt doesn't show, but the pain still grows. Some stranger to you and me. I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Oh Lord, but I've been waiting for this moment for all my life. Oh Lord. I can feel it in the air tonight, oh Lord, oh Lord. Well, I've been waiting for this moment for all my life, oh Lord. I can feel it coming in the air. Well, I remember, don't worry. How could I ever forget? It's the first time, the last time we ever met. But I know the reason why you keep your silence up. No, you don't fool me. The hurt doesn't show, but the pain still grows. Some stranger to you and me. I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Oh Lord, but I've been waiting for this moment for all my life. Oh Lord. I can feel it in the air tonight, oh Why you
Think all a bum bum. The was all Jamaican. With a different style, different fashion. You know? Tell me say one thing Nancy can't understand. One thing Nancy can't understand. What make them a talk about me ambition? Say what make them a talk about me ambition? Come and say some of them a ask me where me get it from. Just some of them a ask me where me get it from. I told them no it's from creation. I told them no it's from creation. Bam bam hey yo, what a bam 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 dilang bam 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 dilang bam bam hey, what a bam bam ta what a bam bam. This woman never trouble no one. I'm a lady, I'm not a man. MC is my ambition. I come free nice up Jamaican. So bam bam ta what a bam 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 dilang bam 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 dilang bam bam hey yo. I me say what a bam bam. Tell me say what a bam bam hey yo. Tell 'em me born and me grow in a Princeton 6. I not see right the Christmas lyrics. When you hear them you sound like Christy Biscuit. You come in at the place and me say well slick. Yeah, bam bam hey yo. Ta what a bam 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 dilang bam 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 dilang bam bam hey yo. Ta what a bam bam hey yo. Say what a bam bam. That's some of them a say you a come and shout them plan. I told them no me a one business woman. Sister Nancy she a 1 in a 3 million. Sister Nancy she a 1 in a 3 million. So bam bam. Say what a bam 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 dilang bam 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 dilang bam bam hey. Say go Sister Nancy make you go. I tell you say fi go Sister Nancy make you go. I know it from me head straight down to my toe. I teach her down Sister Nancy on the go. And some of them a ask her Sister Nancy make you bad so. Long down the list Sister Nancy make you bad so. He bam bam. What a bam bam, he bam bam dilang, bam bam, he bam bam dilang, bam bam. What a bam bam, hey yo, tell me say what a bam bam. This woman, I never trouble no one. I'm a lady, I'm not a man. MC is my ambition. I come feel nice up Jamaican, so bam bam. Say what a bam 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 dilang bam 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 dilang bam bam. Tell me say. I think all a bam bam. The was all Jamaican. With a different style, different fashion. You know? Tell me say one thing Nancy can't understand. One thing Nancy can't understand. What make them a talk about me ambition? Say what make them a talk about me ambition? Come and say some of them a ask me where me get it from. Just some of them a ask me where me get it from. I told them no it's from creation. I told them no it's from creation. Bam bam hey yo, what a bam 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 dilang bam 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 dilang bam bam hey, what a bam bam ta what a bam bam. This woman never trouble no one. I'm a lady, I'm not a man. MC is my ambition. I come free nice up Jamaican. So bam bam ta what a bam 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 dilang bam 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 dilang bam bam hey yo. I me say what a bam bam. Tell me say what a bam bam hey yo. Tell 'em me born and me grow in a Princeton 6. I not see right the Christmas lyrics. When you hear them you sound like Christy Biscuit. You come in at the place and me say well slick. Yeah, bam bam hey yo. Ta what a bam 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 dilang bam 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 dilang bam bam hey yo. Ta what a bam bam hey yo. Say what a bam bam. That's some of them a say you a come and shout them plan. I told them no a 3 million. So bam bam, say what a bam bam, bam bam dilang, bam bam, bam bam dilang, bam bam. Hey, say go, Sister Nancy, make you go. I tell you, say go, Sister Nancy, make you go. I know it from me head straight down to my toe. I teach her down, Sister Nancy on the go. And some of them a ask her, Sister Nancy, make your bad song. Long down the list, Sister Nancy, make your bad song. He bam bam, what a bam bam. He bam bam dilang, bam bam. He bam bam dilang, bam bam. What a bam bam. Hey, tell me say what a bam bam. This woman, I never talk.
I remember, don't worry. How could I ever forget? It's the first time, the last time we ever met. But I know the reason why you keep your silence up. No, you don't fool me. The hurt doesn't show, but the pain still grows. Some stranger to you and me. I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Oh Lord, but I've been waiting for this moment for all my life. Oh Lord, I can feel it in the air tonight. Oh Lord, oh Lord, but I've been waiting for this moment for all my life. Oh Lord, I can feel it coming in the air. I remember, don't worry. How could I ever forget? It's the first time, the last time we ever met. But I know the reason why you keep your silence up. No, you don't fool me. The hurt doesn't show, but the pain still grows. Some stranger to you and me. I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Oh Lord, but I've been waiting for this moment for all my life. Oh Lord, I can feel it in the air tonight. Oh Could I ever forget it's the first time, the last time we ever met?
There goes my boy. Can you hear me, Ty?
I can hear you, my man.
What's up, man?
Okay, man, just trying to get it done.
Oh, you doing more than that. You doing more than that. You look like a pro.
It depends on the day.
Oh man, it's good. Good to see you,
Always,
man.
always.
Good to see you, man. Man, it's been what? Probably I haven't seen you probably shit. Running since 91.
From back in the day.
When you look the same, man. You look the same. You look like you haven't aged a bit, man.
I appreciate it, my brother. Tell my body that my body thinks a little different.
You look young then, and you look young now.
Look, this body got some miles on it. All I can tell you.
Well, we're gonna talk about those miles. We're gonna talk about those miles, man. I'm actually in doing the research of this, man. You brought back old times for me, man. And we're gonna talk about some old times, man. You ready to rock and roll? Let me make sure. Let me make sure I got your volume right. All right. Lost Letterman, man. When we started Lost Letterman, I know we do a lot with high school. We do a lot with college, but the reason why we started Lost Letterman was for nights like tonight, man. There are people who play basketball and then they're hoopers, man. This man right here is a hooper, a bona fide hooper, man. From day one, actually. From that, well, at least the first day I met you, you've been a hooper. In the building with us, and I'm gonna, you know, when I was thinking about you, TY, I was thinking about NBA players, and I said, man, I would liken you and your journey, at least from what I know, and maybe after we go through it, I won't say this. I would liken you to Andre Miller, man. Andre Miller, man, because it seems like you guys got similar stories, man. But with us tonight, man, we have Ty Randolph, one of the best to come out of not only Columbia, but obviously one of the best to come out of South Carolina. What's going on,
Man,
TY?
everything's great, man. Everything's great. Just trying to get it done day in and day out.
Man, let's get right into it, man, because I know a lot of your story, but I probably don't know all your story. So where did you actually grow up?
You know, I grew up right there in Columbia. It's called Midland Terrace right now, right below Pinehurst. So
okay, I thought it was Pinehurst.
Grew up right there in that Pinehurst community. Grew up on the courts outdoor there, and kind of took it from there.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. When did you really start hooping? Because I would assume you started hooping pretty early. If I know you the way I think I know you.
I did. You know, my late brother pretty much kind of put the ball in my hand. I had one of my cousins, Albert Weston. He played at Lower Richland, but ever since I was small, I was always a guy that kind of was around the courts and basically just kind of picked it up and just kind of learned from everybody, and blessed to kind of be able to play it for a while.
Now, with that being said, you talk about your size. How tall are you right now?
I give myself 6 foot because I don't have no hair.
But that's what I'm saying. You've got taller. Because back in the day, you were shorter. And I'm thinking like 5'8", 5'9". So man, you caught that blessing. You caught that blessing. So when you growing up in Pinehurst, I mean, obviously during that time, that was the hot, and you know, no disrespect to any other eras, but that was probably one of the hottest times in not only South Carolina basketball history, grassroots, but definitely Columbia, South Carolina basketball history. So talk about some of the players you looked at and kind of modeled, maybe not even being South Carolina, but some of the players you looked at during that time and maybe modeled your game after.
To be honest with you, you know, we all kind of grew up in a certain area, but we kind of played all over Columbia. So, you know, growing up at Pinehurst, they had the summer leagues, and we would go to down at, it's Martin Luther King now, but we would go to Valley Park and play during the years. But my actual first basketball experience came when we had a league at Trenton Park, a gentleman by the name of Mr. Andrew Lovett. And I played with one of my good friends, Emmett Eddy and Bernard Totley. So we all kind of started there. And I think those guys totally really took me under his wing a lot, because we all kind of came up, but just kind of learn how to win. In Columbia, you don't just play basketball; you got to win. So we won a few little championships coming along.
Hey.
It kind of, went from there for me.
So where did you actually go to middle school?
Middle school, I went to Creighton Middle. Me and one of my partners, Mark Sims, were backcourt mates, but they rezoned going into the 9th grade. So I was supposed to go to AC Flora, and I ended up at Keenan. So it kind of separated me and Mark for the most part, but
And shout out to Mark. A lot of people don't, and I'm gonna talk about this a little bit later. A lot of people don't realize, man, Mark Sims was a hell of a basketball player. He could have played college basketball. There's no doubt in my mind he could have played college basketball. So with that being said, I'm gonna go back in my memory. So did you hoop at Creighton on that team with Billy and Boo?
At that time, the man was Larry Sally, was the guy with me. But the thing about Creighton, when they rezoned, I actually went from Creighton over to WG Sanders.
Oh,
so that's how I actually got on the other side of town. And it's funny because when I went to WG Sanders, the same team I played and we won the championship at Keenan, that was our 8th grade year. We actually lost the championship in the 8th grade with George Ward. See, it was unique how that actually happened.
But funny story. And people won't realize this when I say it, but I was on that hand team that beat you guys, and I was on the team, but Keno Cohen was the team who beat you guys at with Moon and at Sanders. But we played Billy and Boo at Creighton that year, and those guys played on a they beat us. And Billy unfortunately wasn't able to continue the remainder of the season. And no disrespect to the rest of my teammates, had that not happened, I'm not sure we would have got past. We would have been able to get past them again, because they played with a different level. They played with that Valley Park speed. They played with a different level of speed that young people, and they played with a different level of freedom that young people just did not play with at that time, man. So those dudes were something special. And I remember we actually, and that was a really good game when we ended up beating you guys for the championship in the 8th grade. So with that being said, as you're at Sanders, what are some of your, and we all have dreams and aspirations. What were some of your dreams and aspirations when it came to basketball?
I think at Sanders, I just wanted to kind of, I've never been a type of guy, that wanted to be the superstar, but I always just wanted to be a guy that can make an impact on the game. So, of course, being small, defensively, you got to kind of, change the game, and definitely being a point guard. Back in those days, you had very good guards you're playing against. You got to know where to get the ball. So, having a few dogs beside you here and there, it made a huge difference. I'm gonna be honest with you. Coming up in Pinehurst, Nate Jacobs was a guy that I kind of spent a lot of times. Great hands. As I kind of went along, I spent some time with Pete Fowle. So being small, I think being around those guys, and Emmett is a really good friend of mine, just learning the game. I just wanted to be ready when it comes to high school, because, when you went to high school, depending on where you went, you basically starting all over. So
now, with that being said, what was your mind frame in terms of going to Keenan? Because, man, at that time, and we're going to talk about Beauvais a little bit, but at that time, like, obviously you had Eau Claire and Laura Richland, which were really two top dogs, some of the best teams in the nation. But Keenan was right there too. I mean, Keenan had some really, really good talent. What was your mindset in terms of, were you excited, or were you excited to be like, man, am I going to be able to play because they have so much talent? Or what was your mindset in terms of you being able to leave your mark? Because I know you wanted to hoop.
I think the thing that going to Keenan was being different. All those other programs, like you talk about, Eau Claire was always good. Love Coach Glimp. Laura Richland was unbelievable to me. They were a college team. If you went to Keenan and you were able to be successful, I think it separates you from the norm, because the thing was, everybody else had won a championship. And that, coming into the 9th grade, our goal was to at least win one, if not more than one, but with that sour taste in our mouth, I think that kept us hungry. So each day we just kind of came in each year just trying to make our mark to try to, win a championship. Because if you didn't win a state championship in Columbia or in South Carolina, you average. You know what I mean? That's what guys always talked about. Bernard Totley, again, childhood friend, great friend. When I was a sophomore, they knocked us out at Lower Richland, and they went on and won the state championship.
Right.
So it's like, when you sit back and think about that, it's like, boy, if we don't get one, it's going to be a tough burden to carry.
Now, with that being said, and I'm gonna sound like an old man right now. I think it's a little different now with social media, and you get to know people a lot easier because you see them on social media so much. That it's almost like Michael Jackson back in the day. You didn't see him that much, so when you saw him, it was like a star. I think because I didn't know him, I never saw him before other than newspaper. Talk a little bit about Andre Bovain, and not necessarily just him as a player, but he was a star. Like he wasn't like he just it wasn't that he was a good basketball player. Like, man, he was a bona fide star, and a lot of it was because of probably the work he had done in middle school, and he hit the scene. Like, man, he was dropping 20s and 30-point games as a freshman and a sophomore, which was unheard of at that time. And even at Dre, I didn't even know what he looked like, man. I just used to always hear people talk about Bovain. So, man, talk about what it was like to, first of all, meet him and then obviously play with him and earn his respect as you came along with Keenan.
I think that I'm like you. I experienced him in middle school, and he was kind of a freak of nature then. But I think the biggest thing for me was just the different type of leader he was. He had the swag. Of course, he had the game. But in practice and definitely in games, the way he just took off and went, it was like, all right, there it is right there. That's how you do it. There's no talking. It was basically showtime and go from the start. And I think that's the thing that kind of fueled me for playing with him. I mean, and I'll be honest with you. I remember one year we went to the camp at USC, and we ended up winning it. The coaches, they would switch teams. So we had Coach Klemp, they took Coach Trapp at Eau Claire, and we ended up winning it. And just to watch him in that scenario was like, he was just going to show you,
right?
I am that. Yeah, I am different. That guy. Travis Garrett, great player along with that group, and Terrence Gibson and all those guys. But I think Bo always wanted to separate himself from the rest. And in moments you can see he was different.
Yeah, he was a different dude. Shout out to Andre Bovain. So with that being said, I think you play with my uncle, right? You played JV with Coach Walker. With Walker.
Man.
So I gotta give my uncle some shine. What was it like playing with Coach Walker?
You know what? Coach Trapp was a really strong disciplinarian type of guy. The mood a lot of times in practice and games was really high and intense. And I think Coach Walker kind of broke the mold a lot of times. He was one of those guys that could say something to break the ice or create a little laughter in the room. And I mean, be honest with you, sometimes you didn't know if you were supposed to laugh or you were supposed to continue to shut up. But really a great mind. They were old school guys. They didn't really believe in being fancy and certain things. So it really taught you how to be.
Not at all. Not at all.
I remember playing JV for Coach, and again, taught you a lot. Just keep it simple and just stick to the mold. Great man.
So with that being said, you got on varsity. When was your first year on varsity? Was it your sophomore?
My sophomore year. I actually my situation was weird. We were so loaded. I was able to make varsity my sophomore year. Didn't play a whole lot, so played a little varsity and JV. My junior year, it was like ridiculous. That was Bovain's last year. And I actually ended up going back down to play JV that year. It actually crushed me, but it actually kind of made me get ready to be the guy my senior year. So it was kind of a different little roller coaster ride.
Now, and I got to get to that. And I'm going to tell a funny story. My first my sophomore year, my my second game, we played Airport the first game. My second varsity game, I was starting, and we played you guys, and it was at Airport. It was at Airport. I'll never forget it. And you know how, and again, I didn't even know what Andre Bovain looked like. So, I'm trying to be confident. You're the point guard. Because you're gonna have a rock in your hand, so you got to be confident. That's probably the only time I've ever been nervous playing a game, man. Because when you're in the layup line, I kind of looked down there. I said, "Man, is that him right there?" So when we got on the court, and you talk about Emmett, and one thing I remember about him is he was a great point guard for that team. A great point guard for that team. And I know when Trav got hurt, it kind of messed the chemistry up a little bit. But going back to that summer that you talked about, as you said, I remember watching you guys at Felton Camp. And it was like, man, you guys, everybody was on the same page, man. It was like, man, there's no way this team is not going to win the state champion. And that was just after C.A. Johnson had knocked you guys out your sophomore year to win it. So talk a little bit about that junior year and playing with Bovain, and obviously Trav and Ted. Man, you guys were loaded that year. And all that. And the other thing about that is you guys had a lot of expectations too, to win the state championship. So talk about just being on that team and being part of that ride, and also having to go back down to JV, and how much you probably wanted to quit and tell Coach Trapp whatever you want to tell her.
I think the biggest thing coming out of that summer is just a different type of commitment. I think at Keenan, we'd always won games. We had the superstar effect. We had the pieces. So at that Felton camp, we had to really kind of separate ourselves, because the first night, of course, they put us against AC Flora. And, of course, very good team at that time with Big John Smith. So it's like that game right there set the tone that time. But I think the biggest thing is, as we went through that camp, everybody kind of saw that, like you say, this is a different type of animal. And
yeah, you guys were on fire. You guys were on fire at that camp, man.
I think I grew up in that camp, because a lot of times with Emmett, he kind of helped me a lot in IQ. So I would see a lot of the things he would do. So by the time I get in, of course, you know exactly what to do. It's your job not to screw it up. And like you say, with Bovain, a lot of times if you get it to where it needed to go, I mean, he was gonna finish it. So it was a real humbling experience to kind of go through that with those guys, because they're the ones that have been carrying the torch for so long. But I think going into the season, I took it personal, but at the time, I'm a coach now. I guess coach was doing what was best for the team at that time. But I think that it just made me, stay in the lab, keep working. Kerry Rich is a good friend of mine, and he always would kind of give you little tips and different things. And he just always told me, just keep playing with the best players, keep working hard, something's going to come about. He ain't lying. Hard work definitely paid off.
Did you ever think about leaving?
No. It's not in my DNA. That ain't what my stepfather taught me. My brother, that you always got to grind it out. You always got to grind it. Because, again, I grew up with a lot of those guys, especially the crew I played with in 8th grade. So, eventually I knew my time was coming. It's just a matter of staying ready.
Now, with that being said, and again, I always viewed you as a really good guard. I was actually looking at, as I was going over the stats from that year, man, your stats were really, really for what I thought your stats were going to be like 8-10 points a game. And it wasn't that. Was it frustrating? Because obviously you're on a great team, and you guys playing Florida, you're playing in a lot of big time games. And I'm going to tell you how I think that helped you in the long run, because you playing on a big time stage. You playing against C.A. Johnson. I know you guys played at Benedict when Bovain and Kerry had their going against each other, and you were used to playing on the big stage, and I think at that time you probably didn't understand it, because it's just what it is. It probably helped you down the line when you got to college and things of that nature. But how frustrating was it for you? Because I always viewed you as a really good player, not to have the stat lines, because as I said, Ed Reese, Buzz, Ty Wilson, man, Mark Sims, man, there was I could go on and on naming guards from Columbia who probably could have played in college, man. And, it's no
Mhm.
doubt. But it's certain things you got to have the stats, and you got to get the shot, things of that nature. You got to get notoriety, and you can play with those guys. You can play with them, man, because you play with them in the summer, you play with them, all throughout the year. How frustrating was it for you not to have that stat line that other people thought you might have had? Because when I looked at your stats, I knew for a fact you probably averaged about 8 or 10 as a junior. So how frustrating was it for you, or did you just kind of play your role?
I'll be honest with you. Anybody that knows me, I've never been a stat guy. I'm not worried really about how many points.
Well, that's good.
I am concerned about how many steals I can get, how how many assists I get. If anybody knows me, I want to win. I'm going to win. And at the end of the day, I think especially like I said, we all started together. Me, Emmett, and Tote, and those guys. We always wanted everything we done coming along. So my mindset was just if I could be on a team and I can help contribute winning a championship, because that was the only thing that really Coach Trapp was missing. He had never won a chip. So that was my thing, is if I could win one, the rest would take care of itself. Of course, I had dreams of playing college, but I was always taught. I had a assistant. His name was Vince Lowry.
Coach Lowry.
Coach always tell me, he said, no matter what your size, whatever, he said, people are always going to take winners. So he said, keep concentrating on being a winner. And that's really what kind of pushed me through that junior year, is just, you know what, when he does give me a chance, I'm going to show him we're going to win. And that's the only one coach ever won. Just remember that.
Now, getting to your senior year, well, first of all, how disappointing was it for you not to win it Beauvain's senior year? Because everybody just assumed that you guys would win it or get really, really close to winning it that his senior year, your junior year. How disappointing was it for you guys to fall short? And not just Beauvain. You guys had, Terrence, and you guys had a lot of other good players as well. But obviously, Travis, who was a big part of that team, got hurt early in that year.
I think that was really one of those things, you hated it for the seniors. But in my mind, if we have the same team, like I said, we have at camp, we win it. And I thought, I could have contributed to that. But, unfortunately, I wasn't, able to be a part of that part and finish in that particular situation. So it's just kind of one of those things, you only get so many opportunities. So with that falling short, I knew with one more to go, it was championship or bust. You know how it goes.
And that's the crazy thing. And I'm sure that this isn't rocket science, but when Beauvain left and all those other guys left and Trav left and everything, everybody just assumed there was going to be a drop off. So what was your what was not only your mentality, but Howard and Moon and the rest of those guys' mentality going into your senior year, and how far did you guys think you could make?
I'm gonna be honest with you. Like you mentioned, Howard Frazier, Ant Weston, Moon was always a part of the run because he came in the ninth grade. He was the guy. David Sutton.
These Sutton,
real key piece. I think that when we came into it, our mind frame was kind of being that diamond in the rough, being the shocker, because everybody was going to write you off. So we wanted to try to, maximize the situation and creep up on people and win the ones that they didn't think we could win. So starting off, it was rough. I mean, even Coach Trapp, I don't know if the guys will tell it like it is. Even he told us, we were going to practice ourselves. He was going to play golf because we got off to a little rough start. But at the end of the day, we knew what we knew again back from the 8th grade. If we stayed together and we did what we needed to do, we were good. But I'm going to tell you the thing that really was the deciding factor. And I coach my teams like this. Every team that we faced, they had to face certain pieces. Ronnie Williams was a defensive stopper. Of course, Moon was Moon. David Sutton was the rebounder. Howard and Amp were the prolific scorers. Me and Cedric Ford, Mike Bookman, all other guys, all we needed to do again was play defense and get the ball where it's supposed to go. So with all those pieces in play, it was really going to be hard to beat us. And I think that once we got our butt kicked one time, we came back from South Aiken. That was the hardest practice I ever had in my life. We told
South
ourselves,
Africa was pretty good too, but keep going. Yeah, South
wasn't bad.
Africa was pretty good.
But we after we lost to them, when we came back and practiced that morning, we told ourselves that was the last time we was ever gonna lose, and it was because we had, like you said, we had been through everything. We kind of understood it, but that chemistry was key.
That's one thing I always respected about you guys' program. You guys didn't lose to two. Excuse me, did not lose to teams you weren't supposed to lose to. Now you might split with Florida, and I know you split with Florida a lot of times. You didn't lose to a lot of teams you weren't supposed to lose to. We actually beat you guys the first time we played you. And man, Casey, I'm not sure if you remember, Casey played out his mind that night. I've never seen him play that well. Man, and obviously I played with 2 years. Man, he played out of his mind. And I'm sure Coach Trap didn't like that either. But with that being said, one thing I do remember is it was for me, us and you guys, the last game of the regular season to get in the playoffs. And I think, man, I remember it was about 5 degrees. I'll never forget that. It was about 5 degrees outside. We were home. We had a pep rally, and we just came in that game with the wrong mindset. Man, you guys jumped out. It was probably like 20-2 in the first quarter. You guys jumped out on us so bad. And anyway, you went on to beat us soundly. You guys beat us soundly and win the playoffs, and we're going to talk about the playoff run. But as I left that game, I said to myself, man, you guys deserve to win because you came in there with a mission, man. And it was business. We were kind of we had won the first game. We really won the first game because Casey played out of his mind. And we were hoping that he would do that again. But and Amp, I don't even know if Amp had played the first game because I didn't even know who Amp was. He came off that bench the second game and he put 25 on us. Left hand, light-skinned lefty. Shout out to Amp, man, my AAU buddy. But talk a little bit about that season and kind of what you learned, and then also kind of getting into the playoffs.
Again, I think the season was kind of up and down. You know, the first game or two, you know, we were good. They had a tournament right over at Columbia High, and I mean, you know, Pat Marshall was the guy back in the day, and they really kind of shook us. You know, if you know what I mean. It was kind of like, all right, this is what it looks like. If you guys are gonna have a shot at winning it, you're gonna have to go through something like this. But right. I think as we went on, like you said, you know, I remember going to AC Flora, and you talk about the scoring side. I remember playing at Flora my last year, and I had one of the better scoring games, and we ended up beating them over there. But at the end of the day, when you look at it, it's like, okay, that was the call in that night. But at the end of the day, I still understood my role, and everybody else still understood their roles. But I think as the season went on, we got better and better. We started understanding what it was.
Definitely.
We started to understand what it was going to take. And, you know, Coach, he didn't really have to coach a whole lot after a while because basically, like you said, once you've seen it once, you've seen it 1,000 times, and you just had in your mind. I remember what happened the year before. They lost it, you know, a couple of times, but then in a matter of 30 seconds, a minute, or whatever, it's like it ain't going down like this. Whatever it takes, we gonna get it done.
Man, I don't know what you guys did, man, but as you said, I remember that game, man. You guys were professionals, man. Y'all were professionals, and you were locked in. And as you said, everybody knew their role, and it seemed like something just clicked. And obviously, you go on that run, beat Wilson, you beat Burke, double overtime, and you beat Slim and Slam, Myrtle Beach. I don't know how you guys pulled that one off. So definitely talk a little bit about that run and some of the key moments that you're always going to remember in that run.
I just think that, you know, in winning any championship, you're just taking it one at a time. You've seen a lot of people win, you know, championships in the city, and you know that, you know, it's do or die in those type of games. But it's a lot of strategy. I think us defensively was the key, you know, what we had, because we had a lot of athletic guys, a lot of high IQ guys, but just understanding how to play to certain teams, because you got to think, you know, Burke had Melvin and, you know, a few guys. You just got to know how to play them. And
Tim Brown too.
Oh yeah. I think that, you know, we always talked about layups and free throws, you know, win championships, and we had to hit, you know, a few big free throws right there to get over the hump with Burke. But I think when we got to the big guys down with the Twins at Myrtle Beach, I think the biggest thing was just kind of withstanding their initial run, because I mean, they went to slamming and bamming all over the place early, and you know how the crowd is with that type of stuff. You just got to weather the storm. But I think we were just really disciplined, and it became a guards game. So when it became a guards game, it put them in a whole different ball game. I never forget when we went to overtime. Coach said we're not shooting the ball unless we get a layup. I think we held that thing for like 2.5 minutes or something before we shot. But
Wow.
it was, oh goodness. I tell you, you talking about discipline. We knew we was gonna get a layup. It was just a matter of getting them pickups away from the goal.
Well, shout out to Slim and Slam, man. Those dudes, man, both of them on the court at the same time. You better look twice when you shoot a layup with them, man.
Sure. For sure.
So what was it like to finally get to the Coliseum and the build up for that state championship, man? What's it like to ride on that bus and know you playing that last game?
I'm gonna be honest with you. Keenan to the Coliseum was a short ride, but
right.
that bus ride was probably one of the longest rides of our life. Because
really?
we always had a rule you couldn't talk on the bus, so it was complete silence. It was, total focus going in there. But I'm gonna be honest with you, when you pull up to the back and that door goes up and you walk in and you hear that roar of the crowd, it's like, oh man, this is where it's at. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, as a kid, I would go to the Coliseum. My stepfather would take us to watch, Lower Richland and Eau Claire, and there's a lot of big time games there. So you had seen it in the stands, but walking in there, it's a different atmosphere. But it's what you live for. So we kind of relish the moment. A lot of people have like jitters, and we had a few little butterflies here and there, but we knew what Riverside was all about. They had been to the show, quite a few times, especially, during the Sean Golden, era. But
yeah,
I think once we got there, we knew what it was all about, because again, I think as a whole, we knew if we won that was going to change the complexity of how we were looked at, from Keenan's standpoint, the first one, 75 plus, when you win a chip, everybody know who the winners are. And I really think we wanted to win it for Coach as well. I said all his friends had won it. Coach Glimp had won it. Coach Jacobs had won it. Coach Williams everybody had won one except for him. So it was real personal for us to try to get that for him.
How did it feel dribbling the ball in the Coliseum at the state champ? Did it feel any different?
I think for me, because I kind of grew up handling the ball a lot. My biggest thing is the passing was more, an emphasis than the dribbling, because I always feel like you kind of have it on a string. But the passing part, because the court is a lot bigger than you think. You think
right?
We them dudes, pressing on the court of that size. You have to kind of adjust a whole lot. So you have to watch your passing. I thought was crucial.
That's what shout out to Coach Whipple. He used to always say, he had no problem playing Eau Claire, but he had to play him in the Coliseum with that wide floor, spread them out.
Now it's gonna be a long night.
So with that being said, man, you guys win that state, and I know you got to have a lot of emotions going through you in terms of accomplishment, and especially having to go down JV, just general stuff. We're playing high school ball. What were your thoughts, or what were your options at that time? Because I know you're a hooper and you still wanted to play ball. So what were your options, and how did you end up getting to VI?
I tell you what, Coach Vince Lowry, of course, was one of our coaches on the staff. Coach Lowry actually played for Coach Phil Worrell at Milligan in Elizabethton, Tennessee. So basically, with my size, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like I said, me and Pete Fauser, I kind of grew up watching him and spent some time with him. My thoughts was I wanted to go to South Carolina State, but of course,
really?
Oh yeah, I'm diehard wanting to
go.
You
weren't that small, Ty.
But I'm just telling you, that was my goal, is try to go to South Carolina State, because Totally was already there, and I was going. They didn't take me. I was going to try to walk on, because I knew if I could get in that atmosphere, I could kind of prove myself and do what I need to do. But my mom was having none of that. So Coach Lowry invited me to go to a workout at Virginia Intermont in Bristol. And I mean, like you said, with the limited options, I feel like if I went and did what I was supposed to, it may give me a chance to extend it, because I really didn't want to all to be over with after winning a high school championship. My next goal was try to, go to college, try to win a championship. And then if the
Nah, it wasn't
pros
gonna
are
be over
option,
for you. You wouldn't have let that happen. You wouldn't have let
I
that
probably wouldn't have, but it's one of those things, speaking humbly, that was the next step. But went to that workout with Coach Lowry. Everything worked out with Coach World. He was thrilled. But the true story, when I went there, myself and Howard and Amp were supposed to be on the same team.
Right.
But something happened there. Y'all know how it goes back in the day with the SAT and ACT. So me and Howard ended up going. But Coach World had already recruited what they was calling the number one point guard out of Southwest Virginia. So I was slated to come in as the backup. And that guy was there when I went on my workout. I'm like, if I come here, it's over with. I don't care who he is. But that situation, Coach Lowry put that together for me, and it was very beneficial. Coach World's a hell of a coach and kind of shaped me for the next step outside of basketball as well.
All right, T.Y., I got to ask you a tough question.
Uh-oh.
I played for Coach Trapp.
Mm-hmm.
I love Coach Trapp. He's my uncle's one of his best friends.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Trapp told me one time when I was playing for AAU, and we're in Arkansas, so we're in front of all the college coaches. I'm trying to make sure I get my stuff off. Coach Trapp told me, he said, "Hey Todd," he said, "when you shoot the ball, that's you telling me you ready to come out of the game."
Oh, wow.
So I was the layup king. I was the layup king at AAU.
Oh, yeah.
So that means I love Coach Trapp, and I want to play. I never want to play for him because I love him now because he gave me the freedom to make mistakes too. Because I made a ton of mistakes, but he gave me the freedom to as Kay says, he gave me the freedom to boogie. He let me boogie. So with that being said, as I'm looking at your stats in college, man, you were boogieing. it was no more of those 2s and 4s. So what was the difference in college in your mindset as opposed to, and I know you guys scored. I mean, I saw a few games you guys scored 100 points. So I know you guys got up and down the floor, but I still think some of it was you and you changing kind of your mindset in terms of maybe being a little bit more aggressive. What was the difference between college and high school for you in terms of maybe, amping your level of aggression up a little bit more?
I think that, Coach Trapp was a type of coach. I don't think he really saw, as you spoke on, point guards being scoring guards. Like I said, with Emmett there.
You definitely see that in me. But you go ahead.
Chucky and them guys. I don't think he was. I mean, we were kind of, it wasn't said, but you were limited on shooting the ball. If you was
he didn't want the point unless you just, and I'm saying this from afar, unless you had extraordinary type talent that just he couldn't say anything about, like Bovain had, but he wasn't a point guard. But his guards, that wasn't his thing, I don't think.
Yeah, I think he wanted everybody, which again, that's my forte, was being a setup artist. I think that was his, thing. And a lot of times, like you said, making mistakes, you wasn't really allowed to make a whole lot of mistakes. So you knew you had to take care of the ball. You knew you had to run the team. It was one of those. But I think, again, getting to college with Coach World, he to me was one of the most extraordinary X and O guys. He not only allowed me to play the game, but he kind of showed me how to play the game, to a different level. And like you said, I think he kind of said, you know what, with you having the ability to not only defend, pass, now you got to add the scoring. So the scoring part to me just kept the defense honest, because at the end of the day, as well as I do, if a guy gonna back up off of you, better be able to hit it. Otherwise, it's just like another defense for what you're doing. So I give Coach World a lot of credit in just kind of shaping me into being that complete player.
Well, I got to give you credit too, because as a PG, especially if you've grown up in a system where you're not asked to score a lot, I know how difficult it can be to kind of change your mindset to score, and you take like 6 or 7 shots, like, man, I'm shooting a lot. It's different when you're used to shooting like 3 or 4 shots a game and you're shooting 10, 15 shots a game. It's a totally different mindset, and it takes a lot to kind of change. It takes a different type of person to kind of change that mindset. So, man, kudos to you for changing so quickly. And just talk a little bit about the league and playing NAIA and kind of what it taught you. Your next step in terms. And I know Andre and Nab and a few other people from Columbia came up there, but just talk about VI a little bit and kind of how much you flourished there.
I think a lot of times in the NAIA, you had a lot of players like now. They went to Division I, they came back down to a little bit smaller level, but it was really competitive. I think the biggest thing for me is, again, I go into a situation where Coach World is kind of starting to build a program. So nobody really knows about you. So going in there, I mean, especially like Howard and I going in there, it's kind of a situation where you can kind of put your own stamp or your own blueprint on it. But we went from playing just regular schools to starting to play, higher level competition. And I think that was the breakout session for me, because now all of a sudden you go from, being an average guy to a guy and like, man, who in the world is that? So I always say it's okay to be a big fish in a small pond. And I think that was, crucial for me, especially moving on outside of college and getting the opportunity to play in the pros, because like you say, with the stats, you get those stupid stats sometimes. You get a triple double. Guy get one time I was able to get 18, 19 assists, and they're like, huh? That's
well, you know what? And I'm not saying stats are everything, but I do think that, and I'm sure that, I know this for a fact. There are times when you can win, especially in high school, but you feel like you didn't contribute everything that you could have contributed. And we all want to win, but sometimes you want to say, man, I gave it everything that I could give it as well. So there's a and you're a coach now, so you understand that, and kind of it is what it is. So talk a little bit about VI and how you started and your leap to play professionally.
Basically went in there in my freshman year, made pretty much freshman team, this, that, whatever. And my second year, we ended up winning the league. We won the
because you guys won a lot.
Yeah, we ended up winning the league. So that created a different buzz. You start to get ranked, and now Coach World is well connected. He was actually you think he went to college with Dale Harris, who was the coach of the Lakers at the time. So
yeah.
And seeing some of the little sparks and different things, he would share that I possibly would have a chance to play at some level professionally. Of course, everybody's trying to make it to the NBA. I remember coming home during the summers, and I was able to kind of join in different workouts at different gyms with Xavier McDaniels or Ty Corbin or one of those guys. So okay, and this is what college looks like. This is what league looks like. So that really helped me a lot in kind of understanding body, mind, IQ. This is what you're gonna have to at least even be considered. But I went on a like a Christian excursion with Athletes in Action. I went to the Philippines.
Wow.
Good friend of mine, Troy Pennington, was on that team. He played at Methodist. So we ended up playing the Filipino national team. And when you start playing against the overseas guys like that, and you started, making waves, I think that's really was an instrumental part for me. And then I ended up going back to my junior year overseas, playing with those guys, and went to Russia. And I kind of took off from there. I kind of had the buzz. I kind of had everything, I needed. So I think, at the end of the day, that kind of capped off everything, for my college career to kind of set the tone for me to possibly be able to play, in the professional ranks.
So man, and the thing that I love is, so many times cats can go to college, and Columbia players are known for this too. Some I would probably fall in this bucket and kind of fall out of love with basketball. You know what I mean? Because it's a different grind in college. It's just a different grind. It's a different grind on your body and all that kind of stuff. So it seems like, man, you never lost your love for the game whatsoever. Is that right?
Oh, for sure. I've always had a passion. I'm a driven person, even in my old age. If I set my mind to it, that's what's going to happen. But even as a child, that was my goal, was to make it to the professional ranks, make it to NBA, just like everybody. But there's steps to it, Right. So there's no need to sit back at Keenan and talk about going to the NBA. The first thing you got to talk about at Keenan is trying to win a championship. So
Right.
when you do those things, it takes the individuality out of it. But I just always plan things out in a step-by-step process. And I think, at the end of the day, it kind of worked.
And did you ever think about leaving VI and going to maybe D2 or D1?
Had several opportunities to East Tennessee State was right down the road. My man Keith, Mr. Jennings, had just left from down there that went to the NBA. So I know that was going to be a situation where if I even consider that, boy, it's always good to be the next man, not the man after.
Right.
But honestly, man, Coach World gave me the opportunity. So yeah, I'm a loyal type of cat. So it didn't matter who came to the door. I wasn't going to leave him because he kind of believed in me and he put his trust in me for what we had going on. So no doubt about leaving or going anywhere or trying to level up, as they say.
Man, that's great, T. That's great, man. And shout out to that coach because it just goes to show. And there are a lot of people like this, man. Really, all you really need, and not to say you didn't have opportunity before, all you really need is an opportunity because, man, you had the game and you had everything else. Maybe not the numbers wouldn't have backed it up, but obviously you played really well. Your senior year, you guys won the state championship. So with that being said, talk a little bit about the professional experience. You leaving Virginia VI and then going to play professional basketball.
In my senior year, again, Coach World had kind of thrown my name out to a lot of different people, and it's kind of strange because by going overseas with athletes in action, one of my friends, I mentioned Troy Pennington, he played for the Washington Generals. That's the team that played against the Globetrotters.
Right.
So at the time at 95, they had a lockout. So a lot of the free agency camps and certain things you could go to try to get on, there wasn't a whole lot going on until they got that resolved. So Troy called me and was like, look, man, you need to come out here and play with me with the Generals. And, you can make a little money and you stay in shape. And you know me, I'm real serious and competitive. So I'm like, man, I can't do that. But after a time or two, he called. I actually went out. And I think I played 3 games with the Generals before joining the Globetrotters. We almost beat them in 2 of them. One of them went down to the buzzer. Guy missed a shot at the buzzer. But the owner, Mr. Manny Jackson, came out and they had like a little special workout. And in that special workout, I kind of had one of them days. And he basically took me upstairs to that hotel and he asked me if I ever thought about being a Globetrotter. And I'm going to be honest with you, at the time, I was like, no, I'm good with what I'm doing. I'm going to see if I can try to get in one of these camps. But a contract come across the table and all the zeros go to the back instead of the front. So we good.
So what does it mean? Obviously, I know what Globetrotters are, but like, what's a normal course of schedule for the Globetrotters?
It is grueling. You think training camp will start pretty much mid-August, and you basically go 8 to 9 months. You play anywhere from 6 to 7 days a week, and sometimes 2 times on the weekend. So it's grueling. It's grueling. You city to city, state to state. You're on tour bus. You're on airplanes. I mean, but the experience now, I can tell you, it's unbelievable. It's like being a rock star because, Curly Boo Johnson was my mentor when I played for the Globetrotters. And I remember sitting on the first plane with him and he was telling me we were going to Bogota, Colombia. And he told me, he said, this is going to change your life in basketball because he said, you're going to see a cat every day that made it to the NBA. But he said, when you walk into a room, he said, you ain't going to see too many people that ever can tell you they've been a Globetrotter. That's always stuck with me because that's comes up a lot. So he definitely was correct on that.
Now, as you're playing professionally, how much did you think back? And I know you're kind of in the zone at that time, so you can't really think back. You take too much time. But you do have a lot of bus rides, a lot of plane rides, so you do have some time in isolation. Mm-hmm. How much did you think back to those early years at Pinehurst, Creighton and Ronnie Keenan or whatever? And just in those early years in kind of your maturation and kind of the developmental phase of your career?
I want to be honest. My stepfather, Robert Taylor, one of his good friends just passed away. His name was Anthony Taylor. They call him Tony Red. We used to get up early in the morning, and he used to have us running like railroad tracks and all types of. It was almost like a military workout. So I would think back to those workouts compared to what I was doing in the professional range. Like, oh no, this ain't got nothing on what I used to do. So it was almost like, man, this guy ain't supposed to be doing all that. But I think Tony Red taught us the value of hard work and just what it's going to take to kind of make yourself different when you don't have those skill sets like you're talking about. But I'm just appreciative of a lot of the people. Like I said, my cousin Albert Weston helped me a lot. You know, Pete Carey was the guy I think that really transformed my mindset on levels of basketball, because I would go to Meadow Lakes. Anytime a gym was open, I was in a gym somewhere working out.
You were.
Carey told me one day, I was coming out of Meadow Lake. He said, listen, if you're going to be the basketball player that we see you are, you're going to have to start coming playing with the Division I players. And I was like, you know what? That make a lot of sense, because the level is going to keep me at a high level. And I remember playing with him and a lot of the guys. When I go back to school, I was hands down at a higher level. And those times of spending, I mean, Pete and Nate and Emmett, we always would talk about hands. Nate Jacobs had some of the best hands I've ever seen. I mean, any shape, form, or fashion. It was the same thing, you know, Pete would tell me with people being bigger than him. You know, I would watch him have battles all the time, but his size, how he overcame those things, it's like, you know, I think I took a little bit from everybody, you know, and kind of made it my own, and then just added to what I had. But all those things, like you said, coming from there, all that kind of shaped me and made me kind of what I am today.
Yeah, and you know what, man, Ty, I'm so glad you said that. That's, to me, that's always been the special thing about Columbia basketball. I think at that time, I'm not sure how it is now, but man, it was real competitive. Like, man, like I said, we probably haven't spoken this much since '91. It was very competitive, but you did want to push everybody who played. You want to push them as hard as you could. And you were happy with whatever they got, man. And you saw the talent, because especially the guards, man, there was so many good players. And I could name probably 50 guys off the top of my head right now. And the best person or the top 5 weren't all the ones who went D1 and all that. And you knew how it doesn't always work out like that. But you were always kind of, at least for me, I was always really happy for guys, whatever opportunity you got, you know, just try to make the best out of it. If it works, fine. If it doesn't,
and I'm gonna tell you something, you know, with a lot of the guys that were in Columbia, you know, like I said, I grew up playing with Bernard Totley. Bernard Totley was special, you know, with what him and Carey did by putting Johnson on their back and winning a chip. It was easy for a lot of those guys to say, you know what, man, I'm this guy. He could have easily forgot about me, but it's like, even to this day, you know, if I come to Columbia, he the same humble dude. Like I said, Kerry Rich, all them guys, they wanted to help you, you know, kind of get away. They were bigger than what I call the superstars, and that means a lot. And I try to carry myself like that too, and just kind of always making sure you give back, you know, to others. But those guys were special.
Absolutely. So you went ahead and put your time in as a player. And as your career is winding down, is that once you start having to make decisions in terms of coaching, or which kind of your mind frame, you know, once you trying to figure out what the next step is?
Basically, you talk about a 5'11" guy that thought he was 6'7", 6'8". Just scared of.
Hey, I can't believe you 5'11".
And my body started giving out. I break my finger in practice one day. You know, foot give out on me and have a hairline fracture. My body started to break down after a while. And then, you know, last year was a rough year for me. I lost my mom and my brother. So
I'm sorry to hear that.
Oh yeah, it's rough. So but my mom always wanted to be a school teacher. So when I went to Virginia Intermont, I majored in education. So when I started getting hurt, your mama gave you that call and like, you know what? Man upstairs trying to tell you something. So I ended up going and getting into the education field. Actually, one of the guys that rehabbed me one time when I knocked my shoulder loose, his daughter was playing basketball, my good friend Shannon Byers, and I ended up coaching a little girls team. And it was like, oh man, I mean, you can give somebody just this little bit of knowledge, and this is what it looks like. But then, of course, as you go on, you see what it's like. You give them the knowledge, and they do their own thing. So the coaching was a real reality check for me, because you know how you want it done, but there's different ways to deliver it. So yes, I went on to kind of live my mom's dream right now, been in education for 26 years. So it's been
Wow,
rewarding. Mhm.
man, that is what's up. And you're still coaching though, right?
I did. And a unique thing about coaching, one of my good friends, when I first got into school teaching, one of my Globetrotter buddies, he came to a school called McIntosh Academy in Darien, Georgia, right down the road from where I'm at. So I was supposed to go and be assistant coach with my buddy Rodney English. He played at East Tennessee State. But the
Yeah.
coach at Glenn Academy had heard about me coming down and asked if I would come over and sit down and talk to him. So I went over and talked to Coach Dan Moore, and I actually ended up going to Glenn Academy. And if anybody knows Glenn Academy, that's where Kwame Brown went, the first
Yeah.
#1 draft pick. Yep. So
Yeah.
I went there, had a pretty good, run as a high school coach, and then Kwame ended up calling me like 3 or 4 years later, and he was like, "Man, I need you to be my player development coach," because he and I would still work out. And I'm like, "Oh man, I actually had a state championship team at Groves." Long story short. So I ended up leaving Groves High School in Savannah, and I went to Detroit Pistons to be a player development coach for Kwame. So I ended up going to the Pistons. I was actually in Charlotte for 1 year with the Bobcats. He ended up getting hurt in Golden State. So I spent several years in the NBA before coming back to high school. I went to the 76ers after that. So it was a good little run, and I got a chance to coach and see the coaching aspect on different levels. And all I can tell you, it's a lot easier to coach high school kids than it is to coach pros.
And that put me right into my next question. What's
Mhm.
it like being in that scene? And especially when you know that you don't have a guaranteed deal for 5 to 10 years. You gotta, you just kind of year to year. What's it like being in that scene, especially as you get older?
I tell you what, with Kwame, it was one of those things is he could play basketball, but I think he lost his confidence a whole lot, being on #1 pick and certain things. But
Tough. It's
yeah,
tough.
very, very tough. But it goes
Yeah.
back to my childhood and coming along in basketball myself. It was all about the grind. The way he was working at it, we had to change it up. His mental approach, because he was used to being the man. Now you get to the NBA, they tell you not this or that. So basically in Detroit, we just kind of grind behind the scenes. We're there early. We go through practice. We go home. We come back at night. We're working. So we go from 1.3 or 1.4 million in Detroit. We go to Charlotte, have one of the best years. He averaged a double-double at one point, and he
Okay.
goes to making, $21 million with Golden State. So everybody looks at the dollar amount, and it's like, no, I more looked at the numbers and how he improved in just understanding the game. Because a guy of his stature, he, like you say, stat-wise, he can score, but he had to get it on the defensive end. So just doing a lot of the dirty work. But coaching-wise, the NBA is no different than high school. It's all about the fundamentals, just understanding how to play. The only difference is you're going to have 2 to 3 very good players. At the time I was in Charlotte, they had the big three down in Miami. So when you get to the fourth quarter, I don't care how much your fundamentals are. Wade, LeBron, somebody's going to take over the game. So that's the unfair part of the NBA, depending on what level you're at. But the coaching side is basic fundamentals. Larry Brown's kind of took me under his wing and just helped me a tremendous amount of how to just break the game down. And I use it to this day. Very smart guy.
No, now as and I've always wondered this, as you are as you're going post college, Globetrotters, professional basketball, NBA, wherever you're going, how much does it just matter what your experience is post basketball as opposed to where you played?
I think it's everything. And people may never know this, but when I played, Alex English was my agent. So having a hometown guy that could break it down,
Uh-huh.
he basically took me when I left the Globetrotters to go to the developmental league. It was called the IBA back then. He had me playing in Winnipeg, Canada for the Cyclones, and
Man,
it,
you love some basketball time. You love basketball, man.
it was cold. But, Alex is one of the better minds that I've ever been around. But like you said, that experience, he kind of broke it down, and the experience is what's going to get me to
Right.
where I really wanted to go. But he helped me a lot in just kind of getting me places, showing me how that place was going to springboard me here, there. And oh, yeah, it was huge.
Because from what I've always been told, it matters like when you, especially if you went to like a Power Five school, it matters probably the first 3 or 4 years you get out, but the further you get away from it, the less that and it's all about. It's almost like your resume. It's about your experience as opposed to kind of where you went to school and that kind of thing. So now I got to give you some hoop questions and we'll get you out of here. Besides me, who are some of the best ballers you played against high school?
I think you said it earlier. Marion Busby was very good. I mean, Pat Marshall played like a combo type deal, when he was
big
at Irmo. Of course, Boo and Billy were really good. We never really played, Laura Richland with Ty and those guys. Like I said, I didn't get many minutes playing against, a Nate Jacobs or somebody like that, but all those guys. I mean, I remember, trying to stay on the ledge guarding Kerry Rich at Middle Lake Park. Now, like, whew, yeah, the different type of animal. You got the size and all that.
I tell you one thing, I always give Kerry the utmost credit for, man. He is, other than Saxon, I'll put he and Saxon in the same boat. They're the most aggressive players that I've seen during that time, man. They don't leave anything on the table. Nothing is on the table, man. They were going to play as hard as they could, man. They squeezed everything.
Saxon was I think Sax maybe a year or so behind me. I know he was behind me, but just I knew him.
He's a year behind me.
Okay, I knew him. Us growing up.
We were short.
Yeah, we would be around that Valley Park, and you would see him, and then I think I went to college and came back and was like, oh man, that's a different type of man here. Once I saw him coming from high school to college, I mean, to this day, to me, he a first round draft pick. I don't care how it turned out, but Marcus Saxon probably one of the best of the best.
So what about college and pro? Who are some of the toughest guys you had to lace them up against?
Well, that's tough. I'll tell you, it goes way back in the time, but there's a guy played at DePaul. His name was Howard Nathan.
He's a big kind of stocky guy, right?
Yeah. I remember squaring off with him in the developmental league. Cat played at Kansas, Calvin Rayford. Now, you talking about a tough guard.
Just kind of looking like a little bit.
Cat was fast.
Yeah,
Cat was fast. It's one of those things. Pete was quick, but this guy was even lower to the ground. So playing against certain guys like that, and especially there's a few cats over in Europe, but I would have to say those two guys during my time were probably the better two that I played against.
So what's next up for you, TY? We're gonna get you out of here on that, man. Actually, two questions. What's next for you? And I got one more question after that.
Retirement. It's getting about that time. I have a really good team. I'm head coach here at Bradwell Institute in Hinesville, Georgia. Have a really good shot of possibly winning it here. So I give myself, 2 more years in the saddle here coaching. I'm an assistant principal now, so may see if I can move myself.
Oh, you about to be in the C-suite.
What they say. I'm gonna dibble and dabble and see if I may get an opportunity at the board level, but I don't know. I'm looking to obviously just kind of shut it down and see what's next. That's all I've known for a long time. Kind of rest my mind for a little bit. I've always said I was going to come back to Columbia and coach, but I've never seen the opportunity. So we may just kind of keep that as something in our back pocket as well.
You can coach a great collegiate. Me and you can come and we can be assistant coaches with Dion.
As long as he can help me get my ring size. Dion, he's my guy. Georgia Southern let one get between slip away. He recruited a lot of my kids when he was at Georgia Southern for that year. Hell of a coach.
Yes, sir. So with that being said, and I kind of asked it, just asked it a different way, man. So many people, I think, especially from our time, leave opportunities on the table, man, and they don't squeeze it. They don't get, because you're young and it kind of is what it is. But man, I think you squeezed everything that you could get, man. Like you squeezed everything you could get out of your career, man. I'm so happy for you. And I'm happy that it worked out for you in that manner, man. Do you think there's any more that you could have gotten out of your career than what you were able to get?
Honestly, I think from the NBA standpoint, I probably could have tried to stretch it to get there a little bit longer. You know, a lot NBA is a lot of patience, but I think in my situation, I was more concerned with kind of being able to, take care of myself, take care of my family, go make the money that was on the table. So I probably could have tried the league a little bit longer or try to make that situation because in developmental league, you're playing in front of NBA execs every night, but that's the only thing I can think of. But again, in my desire to make it, I mean, I believe in get it when you can, and that time it was better for me to go, to Europe and different places to try to continue to finish everything out when it comes to basketball. So that would be the only thing.
Actually, this is a perfect question. This is the last one for you. Yeah, again, you were about 5'9" when you graduated from Keenan, probably 5'9", 5'10", small. Uh, what advice would you give young high school kids right now? Because honestly, with coaches, the first thing they see is size. It is what it is. That's the first thing they see. So if you're under like 6'1", 6'2", you've got to do something. You got to do something that kind of pops off the board, or you got to know somebody. So what would you tell young kids, especially young guys right now, young females, who don't necessarily have that pop athletically or size in terms of staying with your dream and staying in the game?
I think you have to really understand the process. People don't understand the process. For me, like you said, at my size, I could have averaged 20 a game in Columbia, and I still wouldn't have went nowhere at my size. So you have to understand the process of how it's done and what they're looking for. For example, as a point guard, you can find a guy that can do this, do that anywhere. But again, I take it back to the small guys like Pete Faust and Nate wasn't small, and Emmett. You got to impact the game in a different way. So understanding the defensive side of the game is how you're gonna get there. Then you got to be a great setup artist, playing with Moon and Amp and Howard Frazier. If you know where to get the ball, that's going to, boost your stock at what you got going on, because at the end of the day, you get them guys going, it's gonna leave it for you come fourth quarter, whatever you got going. But I think just understanding how to make it. And it just don't happen off social media. We didn't have it back then. Now sometimes you can be self-made, as I call it, off social media. You got to get that thing out the mud. It's still a grind. You got to work hard. And then the last thing I'll tell kids, you got to be really intelligent and make sure your education is taken care of, because if you don't have that foundation of an education, it's gonna be hard. You don't want nobody to take advantage of anybody.
Man, that's what's up, man. It's been so good catching up with you, man. We can't let 30 more years go by
No,
without
you
us.
do better.
Without
You
us
better. You're gonna do better. Yes, sir.
So, with that being said, man, who do you want to shout out, man? You've already, talked about a lot of people. Who do you want to shout out before we get out of here?
Listen, just the whole Metro Nation, man. Like I said, in my situation, we can talk about where I've been, what I've done, what I'm doing now, but it take a village, and I just appreciate everybody from my family to former teammates. Everybody's had a hand in what I have going on. I've never been a I guy. I've always been a we guy. So what you seen we did it together. So again, like I said, when I go to Columbia, anytime I go somewhere, if you run into somebody, they had an impact on what I had going on. So it wasn't all me.
Well, shout out to you, Ty, man. It's been so good catching up, man. And you, what you just said is the truth, man. You had no ego about you, but you definitely were a hooper, man. And we're gonna make sure we stay connected.